The body's very accommodating. If we tell it, by gosh, I need some new proteins, get to work, thank you. So we put a demand on the protein side, it actually activates the DNA side. The funny thing, the neat thing is, you've heard, I'm sure, as we get older we have a cumulative DNA damage. Well, guess what? That's reversible. It's literally like sludge that builds up and then that messes this whole sequence up. That is reversible. I mean literally at the level of repairing deoxyribonucleic pairing. In other words, that means fixing it, okay? It's a process that the body has the capacity. The body wants to heal, if I can synthesize that. Now, so DNA activation, RNA recruitment, protein expression. What's that mean? Being anabolic. Now, oxidation and antioxidation, because I want to go back and tell you some of the things about LDL damage. Some of the other things that cause LDL damage, I told you nitric oxide, which is just made by the endothelium. If it isn't made by the endothelia are sick, is a very powerful oxidant. Well, so obviously we've got to do something to balance oxidation and antioxidation. Well, and the reason why I put this carbon monoxide as the ultimate antioxidant, I guess I left out a bracket there, and a period and a few other things, I'm sure. But the reason why I want to say that is you don't want to take all the antioxidants you can get your hands on. You don't want to stop oxidation. You want to balance oxidation. So it is not true that there's a magic bullet out there which is the perfect antioxidant and you're going to live forever. Oh, you could be dead forever. There is an ultimate antioxidant, okay? So I don't want to, but you got to get that. It isn't about taking enough antioxidants as supplements so that you stop the oxidative process. If you stop the oxidative process, you stop nitric oxide, you stop lots of things, including breathing, which is an oxidative process. So get rid of this, just like I'm trying to get rid of the lipid hypothesis. I want to get rid of the notion that it's just if I took enough antioxidants, I'd be immortal. It isn't true. And not only that, it's so untrue that we discover new oxidative antioxidant pathways in the body almost daily. Believe me, you're not going to take enough antioxidants or oxidants to keep up with what we already know. Don't even try. There's no magic bullet out there. Well, if there is one, it's NAC, but we won't talk about that. So other simple healing processes, you know, that's just to be complete. So what we're trying to do, damage is inevitable, healing is optional. I described how we get damaged. I hope you got enough technical grip on it to see how it's tied into some important things we'll talk about. How do we balance that? Through recruitment, becoming more anabolic. Now here's that catabolic decline from 20 to the grave. What I want to get you to do is kind of boost it back up there. Yeah, it's going to go down, but let's keep it as high as we can, as long as we can. Now, I gave you a whole bunch of stuff. There is no drug that fixes interleukins, prostaglandins, endothelial function. I mean, there's just no drug that does all that. Now, there's some that do some nice things on in some of those issues. There's no drug that does all of those things. There's two things you can do that does all of those things. Every single point is impacted by two things: what you eat and what you do with your body. There is nothing else that impacts the two things, those two things. Nothing else is rich enough, complex enough, subtle enough to address that list of technical words I threw at you. And if anybody wants to talk about biochemical pathways, we'll do it. But I want you to get that idea, okay? Now, the role of diet. Whole, real food. The only rational way to feed the beast. Now, what I meant by that is, you notice earlier I said that there are all these oxidants and antioxidants and da-da-da-da-da. It goes on forever. The list is as long as your arm or longer. Which supplement should you take? Don't worry about it. You'll do it wrong. You'll do it wrong. And you know, God did it right, if I can use that notion. And why? The complexity of nutrition is in food. Nice illustration. Most people have heard this. I don't think you should forget it because it illustrates something. The Finns have a very high incidence of lung cancer. They smoke a lot, don't get me wrong. And it has been, no, scratch that. They do have a high incidence of lung cancer. That's not the point. They have a high incidence of gastrointestinal cancer. Does anybody, you know this story? Okay, I thought when you were rolling your eyes like you got it backwards. You're right. They have a very high incidence of gastrointestinal cancer. Some very early research, very definitive and correct research showed that beta-carotene decreased the incidence of gastrointestinal cancer. So Finland's a small enough country, they did an experiment. Heck, let's put all the guys in Finland on beta-carotene. Sure enough, the incidence of gastrointestinal cancer went down, the incidence of lung cancer went up. I think I'd rather die of gastrointestinal, just between you and I, but I don't want to choose, and I don't want to. The point is, why didn't it work? What was wrong? Well, beta-carotene, there are over 500, the number might be bigger by now, over 500 different kinds of carotenoids. It's a complex symphony. And what they were doing is giving somebody the trombone section, okay? And it doesn't work. The body doesn't respond to the trombone section. It needs a symphony of carotenoids. And that symphony, that complexity, that richness is only available in food. You can barely count 500 carotenoids, much less take them as supplements. Oh, gee, I've got alpha, beta, I've got a, give up. Take it in food. Whole food, whole food, whole food. Pasta is not a whole food. It's many, many times a processed food. Soy milk is not a whole food. It's a many, many, many times processed food. Besides that, men shouldn't have any soy, but that's a long story. And women with high LP(a) should never have soy. If you've got high LP(a) and you're a woman and you're taking soy, you're making the chance that you'll get heart disease higher, not lower. So this is not a universal placebo either. But anyway, whole food, whole food. Why is it whole? Because it's complex. I mean, steak's better than ground meat. I mean, it's just, the wholer the better. I guess wholer is not a word, is it? And real, that's the same idea. It means, you know, margarine's almost as whole as butter, isn't it? No, it's not. It's many times over-processed. Butyric acid. Now, we're going to talk about fats in a little bit. Right here, short EFS. Butter has a wonderful chemical in it called butyric acid. Who cares? Remember we're talking about optimizing your immune system? Guess what? Butyric acid is a potent stimulant to immune function. Well, I thought I wasn't supposed to eat butter. Well, you're certainly not supposed to live on it, but butter fat should probably be a part of your diet. There's lots of evidence. Let me give you an example. Recent study showed that dairy product consumption was inversely related to ovarian cancer. The more dairy products, including high-fat dairy products, the lower the incidence of ovarian cancer. Butyric acid stimulates your immune system. So don't avoid butter. Don't eat lots of it, but don't avoid it. And in no case, and you know this is old news, don't eat trans fats. But that's margarine and stuff. But so that's another reason it's real food. While butter doesn't quite meet the whole criteria, it certainly meets the real criteria. My mother's sure of that. Anyway, so whole real food, the role of diet, you can't fix the immune system, the anti-inflammatory system. Oops, I didn't mention that. I will in just a minute. There's a reason I didn't. You can't fix the immune system, the inflammatory system, the mechanical shear stress reparative system by anything you take. No drug does it. So, whole real food, the only rational way to feed the beast. Now, I talked about carotenoids, anthocyanidins, and bioefficient, that's amino acids, and long and short, I should have put chain, oops, now we're in trouble. I killed it. Is he coming? Oh, okay. I should have put chain on there, and it says long and short chain essential fatty acids. Now, the reason why I mentioned that, let's say, well, let's think about that. Well, you'll notice I said protein synthesis is how you make things new again. Well, if you don't get enough protein, you won't make things new again. And let me tell you something. If you sit down and measure nitrogen in and nitrogen out, which is how they tell you to eat protein, you'll never repair. You won't get enough.